What is up, Ravens flock? Huge shout out for your support for the 410 Sports Talk. James and Glenn are the best in the business. They're killing it right now. They love talking Raven talk. Make sure you go subscribe to their channel. Let's go Ravens. Big trust.
Hey guys, welcome into another episode of 410 Sports Talk. I'm James Haskell, along with my co-host Glenn Martin, and we are back after a well-deserved, at least in my book. I'm sure in Glenn's as well. Well-deserved vacation. Appreciate you guys joining us on our live show. I went back and took a look at it. Not the best when it comes to video, but you know what? Hopefully you guys had a good time with the audio. We did our absolute best. We were using dial-up internet, just in case you were curious. But I had a blast. We're glad to be back. But you know, Glenn, this isn't my favorite thing to talk about when it comes to the start of the week and us coming back. So we got to get right into it. Lamar Jackson spoke today. This is the first time he's spoken since OTAs. He's first time he's been in front of the media. And obviously, even on the Ravens website, their snippet about him getting the vaccine was extracted from his entire presser and just put up there. So even internally, there's talk about the situation. So talk to me, lay the table. Set the table here and let's talk about it.
Yeah, so Lamar came back to practice a couple days ago after battling with COVID again, and it sounds like he had some tough symptoms. Harbaugh spoke on it as well as Lamar, saying very fatigued. He did have his sense of taste and smell, but still had a lot of fatigue. And look, he was devastated. He said when he found out that he was going to be missing time with his teammates, and actually said the word heartbroken. So not thrilled to hear that he had to go again away from the team to nurse himself back to health. Although he did say that he had a lot of fluids, got a lot of sleep, and he's excited to be back. But reports at least are coming out that he certainly looked like it was his first camp practice. The first one back, it looked like he was 11 of 19 on 7-on-7 drills. But apparently he was slightly more accurate than that 11 of 19 indicates, because there was 4 drop passes. So in his first time back, not the glowing reports that we were hoping, but I guess that's not that shocking considering the fact that he was out so long and this is his first practice. And then the reports out of today's practice, let's see, he was, from a statistical, if you just look at the numbers, it looks pretty good. He was apparently, 18 of 23 on 7-on-7 team drills. Much sharper in this practice, according to Jamison Hensley of ESPN. But some differing reports. You heard something a little bit different from your source, right, Jimbo?
I sure did. My insider there at camp today, let me know that Lamar Jackson, he actually said that Lamar Jackson, he didn't see a single pass on target. That the receivers and the tight ends kept falling over because the passes were completed but off target, and there wasn't a single opportunity for yak yards. If it were a real life game, that's a concern, certainly.
Yeah,
that's a concern. And look, Glenn, we beat the drum when it comes to Lamar Jackson.
We love us some Lamar.
That's right. So that was a little concerning for me, and hopefully that's just the rust, right? I'm sure that there's a process that he's working through, and hopefully he'll continue to show his improvement and the improvement that he made in the offseason. So that's a little concerning. But the fact that he's out there, I'm sure the whole vibe is different. I'm sure it's electric. I'm sure his teammates are ecstatic. But I want to mention one thing here, Glenn, and I kind of want to get into it. I said it at the beginning, he talked about, they asked him about being vaccinated, right? And he simply said, I'm going to talk to the team doctors and talk with my family. It's a personal decision. So to me, that's a long way of saying no.
Right.
Without saying no. But I've done everything I can to give Lamar Jackson the benefit of the doubt, because I think time after time after time after time, we've documented since the beginning of the show was the precipice of Lamar Jackson's ascension, right? From the time we were just a podcast, you were the first one in the media to say he's going to be the MVP, unanimous MVP that year. And of course, we've grown as Lamar's career has taken off. Obviously, we have him at the opening of our show. We love Lamar Jackson, so I don't want this to come off as like, I don't like Lamar Jackson. I have, a bone to pick with him. But this is the only thing I'll say is that if he's different to me than Kirk Cousins, because Kirk Cousins talked about solutions. He openly said he's not getting the vaccine. He talked about keeping distance from his teammates, having a solution, having a plexiglass cage basically around his desk. All that to me, absolute stupidity, because it is impossible to play football and to be in a huddle and to keep distance. So in that way is what I'm referring to the stupidity. You can't do both, right? Like, how can you be a quarterback, be under center, and not get close to your teammate? You know what I mean? How can you get tackled by someone and not get close to your teammate? So at least Lamar Jackson said, I'm going to talk to the team doctors. But Glenn, let me say this. If he talks to the team doctors have been talking to him for over a year now.
Yeah.
You know, just about. And telling him, I don't know a single doctor that would recommend against the vaccine unless there's some underlying condition that no one knows about. Right. But it's a little disappointing. This is the first time I can say that I've been a little disheartened, disenchanted with Lamar Jackson's actions. Yeah. It's really hard. Like, it's really hard for me to say, because I feel like I defend him in public. Like, we are a platform that talks about the Ravens, talks about Lamar Jackson. Obviously, you guys all watch the show, but what he said about, like you said, being heartbroken about missing time with his team, loving being around the kids, loving being out for the public. I mean, so many times where he's been unfairly criticized about the driving fast, about the jet ski, you know, what stupid stuff. Like, I think stupid stuff. About the fact that he's running back, his game performance, this, that, and the other, being disrespected as a former unanimous MVP, and having a season last year that was way above what people thought it was. And so all these things culminate into me being disappointed, because I feel like we've done nothing but back this kid, and all he's done is prove us right. And just hearing today the lack of urgency, you know what I mean? When his teammates are in there and they're concerned, Glenn, if he catches it again, and he has to miss 2 games. Look, I'm not being dramatic. You know as well as I, that could be the season if we lose those 2 games. Every game counts. So anyway, I just wanted to get that out there, that, like, it's the first time. I'm not here to make anyone's decision for them, but I think if you're in that position, knowing the power you have off the field with getting people to stay safe, and the power you have on the field to make a difference to your team, I just don't know any other way to put it. I've tried hard in my mind to think, okay, how can he do this? I just don't see it. I don't see it without getting the vaccination. So I had to get that off my chest.
Yeah, I mean, no, I hear you. It's disappointing, because, you know, you thought for sure that after a now second diagnosis that he would get the shot. I mean, it's just there's so many protocols for the unvaccinated that make it just so taxing. I mean, I don't know how he's going to. I mean, just think about it. As a 24-year-old superstar and face of the league, he can't go to dinner the entire season because he's unvaccinated. He can't go to a club. He can't go out with his teammates when they're on a road trip to go grab some food. He can't do any of those things because he's unvaccinated. So just from that standpoint, you would think he would want to get it done. But then when you talk about the implications of what it could mean for the team, I mean, he's playing the most important position in all of team sports. And no matter which quarterback you look across the league, if he's forced to miss 2 games, the chances of that team winning those 2 games are very low. I mean, I think most teams would be thrilled with a split in that situation, that scenario. But that's if he comes back from these symptoms and is able to play well in that third. So there's no even guarantee that it's just a 2-game thing. I mean, it could be more than that, depending on how the symptoms affect him. So I think that a guy who's in this position, in this big of a team sport, that I was just hoping to hear that, yeah, you know what, after the second one, after talking with the team doctors, and because I'm sure that they've been talking to all these guys throughout this entire process and advocating for the vaccine, that I'm just surprised he's not saying, you know what, after all that, I'm definitely going to get it done when I'm able to. I know that there's a period of time after you recover that you can't get it done, but I was hoping to hear him commit to getting it done as soon as he could get it done.
And there's a chance he still could, right? Like, I don't want to shut the door on either. If he is really going to, I guess this is my thing, is if he is going to wholeheartedly, this is what I tell everyone about anything in life. Before you make a decision on anything, just go at it on your own, right? Like, do your own research on your own, consult with your inner self right? But be open about it, right? Like, it's funny because little kids, you know how this goes, Glenn. I just spent a week, with you and your family, and you got a little 7-year-old. Little kids will look at the way a food looks just because it looks goofy, and they'll be like, ugh, that's gross. Never tasted it in your life. It could be the best food in the world. It just looks gross, right?
Yep.
So, like, in the same way, if you just go at it openly, right? Just be open-minded towards it. Investigate it. Do the research for yourself. And if at the end of that, like, honest pursuit, he says, you know what, the vaccine is not for me, tons of respect. But, like, I honestly feel like I could bet a lot of money that I don't think that's happened. I just feel very strongly that hasn't happened. And so, like, that's where I'm at. I don't know if that makes sense, but I hope that he does that, right? That he goes to the team doctors and says, hey, can you give me a case study? It's about to be FDA approved, the Pfizer one. There's enough research. There's enough of a sample size. Like, it's right around the corner. So just do the research. I guess my only thing, right? If at the end of the day you really did that and he said, hey, look, I read through this, I did this and did that, and it's just not for me, okay. But the fact that I feel like it's taken a little lightly. Remember what happened to Myles Garrett? I mean, he had respiratory issues throughout the rest of that season after getting COVID. He was going to respiratory therapy. Who in the league is in better shape than Myles Garrett?
Right.
You know what I mean? So, like you said, even if he misses 2 games, what's the after effect?
Yeah. Yeah, how could it affect him? And I mean, you don't know when that diagnosis could come down. It could come down to, they lose some regular season games, which forces them to miss the playoffs. Could come during playoff time. You just don't know. And it's just, I don't know. It's disappointing because I'm sure if you do enough digging, you can find sources on either side.
Sure.
It just depends on the credibility of those sources. But I'm sure, I just hope that. This is what's worrisome. He has a very close-knit group around him. He doesn't have a high-profile agent. He doesn't have a bunch of, influence from external sources. It's just his close-knit group. And he keeps other people at kind of an arm's reach away. So if that close-knit group all feels one way about the vaccine and decides that they're not getting vaccinated and they tell Lamar that, in their opinion, he shouldn't get it, I just don't know how anyone's going to be able to break through that inner circle and change his mind. So that's what worries me. Like it doesn't seem like there's a lot of people that can get, to Lamar because he has such a close-knit group around him, which in a lot of ways benefits him in a lot of scenarios. And we talked about a lot of them on here that we think that and oftentimes it kind of insulates him from a lot of the, unfair criticism and unfair pressures from the Players Association, from this, from that. But in this case, it could be a detriment to him because he doesn't have an agent. He doesn't have, certain forces kind of pushing him towards getting a vaccine, which, I mean, pretty much the rest of his teammates have all been vaccinated.
Yeah, over 90%. We're over 90% now. So love your teammates. You know what I mean?
All your coaches have been vaccinated. So I'm hopeful that his mind will be changed, but I'm a little nervous because, like I said, he's got that tight-knit group, and I just don't see a lot of voices getting in. But as far as how
Larry Hogan, has asked Lamar Jackson to get the vaccine.
Yeah, I bet he has because it certainly affects him as well.
And think about the ripple effect he would have on the community in general.
No doubt.
The Baltimore and the surrounding community and the whole state.
Right. And one of the biggest and most unfair criticisms for Lamar has been like when he was doing the one-on-ones with the kids at the camp. Well, obviously, we thought it was a ridiculous criticism. We think that's one of the coolest things about Lamar is the fact that he's kind of like the people's champ. He's not above hanging out with the kids and doing all that. We love that about. He's not going to be able to do any of that if he remains unvaccinated.
Yeah.
So if you want to get out with the kids, if you want to be able to have some interaction with some of your fans, you might. That's another reason why you may want to consider. But as far as him on the field, it's a little worrisome that the accuracy issues are so bad. Now I'll say this: second practice, a lot can happen, and he can certainly get better as they go. But was hoping to hear that, he tightened some of that stuff up in the off season, and we're not still seeing the inaccuracies heading into this camp because this is a big year for him, big off season for him when he's got a contract coming up.
Yeah.
So I don't think that first 2 days of performance in camp are going to affect his contract, but man, you better believe whether he gets vaccinated or not could absolutely impact the contract decision because I mean, look, the team doesn't know. This doesn't seem like it's going to be going away anytime soon. So if you're signing him to a 5-6 year deal, which a lot of people expect, this is something he might have to deal with. Now you're going to go 5 years with all these protocols, with all these the chance of.
And what happens with the deltas that could be stronger, even more powerful, right?
Yeah. So I mean, there's just a lot right now that he's got to think through, and I'm hopeful that he makes the decision to get vaccinated. But I understand that it is a personal decision. But I just wonder what would be the tipping point? Like, is it waiting for the FDA? Is it waiting for what is the because he said he wants to talk to the doctors. I mean,
yeah. What does it take? Give us the threshold, right? Like, what's the threshold for you saying, okay, you know what I mean? This is nothing more than the vaccines I got when I was a kid before I went into school,
right?
Because when does it become commonplace?
Yeah, it's not like he doesn't have a good enough reason as far as he's been diagnosed with it now twice. He's had it now twice. It's kicked his butt a little bit, he said.
Yeah, I think the second time was worse.
Yeah, now he said he had taste during the second one, but very fatigued and it took a lot out of him. So now I'm hopeful that we'll start to see an improvement on the field, but more importantly, this is going to be something that Ravens fans and I'm sure coaches and teammates are going to be worried about now for the remainder of the season until he decides to get that vaccine. Because man, I mean, you just can't lose your core. You can't lose the general heading into a big game. So
yeah, think about the emotional energy that's invested in worrying every single week, every single time he gets a test. You know what I mean? There's so many other people that's going to be in the back of their mind, right? Is he going to get back positive? Is he going to come back inconclusive? Is he going to be close contact? Because even if he doesn't test positive, we know guys haven't tested positive, but they're close contact to someone that does.
Right.
What if someone on the other team does, and then you get tackled by that person, or whatever the scenario is? It's just difficult. It's just really difficult.
Yeah, it's a tough one, and then you got to think, how does that impact the roster decisions that the Ravens have to make? Because now they might say, well, Lamar's not vaccinated, so we're probably gonna have to keep 3 quarterbacks because we don't know what his status is, and we're worried.
Frustrating, right? I didn't even think about that. That's a great point.
Yeah, I mean, they could be worried that if they expose one of these other two to the waivers, that what if the worst case happens and they do get claimed by another team, and now we're only up to 1 quarterback, and here come then if he gets positive again, then we only have 1 quarterback that's healthy on the roster, and that's a huge, huge problem. So if they have to keep 3, that means they have to go short elsewhere, and that could be costing someone their job just because of this decision to not get vaccinated.
Yeah,
it's a lot. I understand there's a lot that goes into it, but it just seems like there's a lot on one side of the scale. And, I get that waiting and, I know that a lot of people want to wait for more data to come out. But other than that, that's really the only thing on one side is that, wait, I want to see more data. And then the other side is, well, you got all these extra protocols. You got the risk of losing yourself for a couple games and a key point. And look, this is the most competitive I can remember the AFC North being in a long, long time. I mean, since maybe when the Bengals were good with Carson Palmer and Ocho Cinco and TJ Houshmandzadeh. I mean, I can't remember a time where there was 3 teams that are all expected to go to the playoffs. I mean, even the people who are down on the Steelers.
Winners. I mean,
yeah, exactly. And even people who are down on the Steelers. Look, would they go 11-0? Like, how long did it take for them to lose?
Yeah, 11-0. Yeah.
So, I mean, there's 3 legit teams. So even 1 game being forced to miss could cost the Ravens a playoff berth, much less 2 or even more than that if there's, longstanding effects. So I'm worried. I'm starting to become more concerned. And I'm starting to think it could certainly impact, his future contract decisions.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. And I hope that Glenn and I both made it clear that it's hard for us to say anything negative about Lamar Jackson. It's absolutely hard.
But he has to remain he's not above criticism, Jim.
He's not above criticism. You're absolutely right. You have to be fair and objective, both positive and negative. And so, Lamar, just do the research. That's all we ask. Do the research, please.
Ask all the doctors. You ask your personal doctor, ask the team doctors. Call the doctor next door, to your doctor. Call all the doctors. Yeah. Get a true, legitimate opinion about this. Don't just go down those rabbit holes that could take you in any different direction.
Google, Reddit, YouTube. I mean,
ask some medical professionals
us on YouTube, but right. There we go. if we want to be the best, dual threat quarterback in the NFL, we're gonna call you. Right? Like, we're going to call Lamar Jackson. I'm not going to call my neighbor.
That's right.
But if my neighbor happens to be a doctor, I want to talk to him about the vaccination.
Yep. Yep. That's all we can do. It's just like if your car breaks down, you call the mechanic. You call if your body breaks down, you call the doctor. So call the doctor and please make an educated decision. But yeah, I mean that's it for us. But let us know what you guys think. Are you concerned? Does the second diagnosis make you think, man? I mean, this obviously it could happen. If it happened twice, it could happen a third time. Are you hopeful that he gets it done? Do you look at this as a personal decision and you're hopeful? Are you expecting him not to get it done? I mean, just let us know all your thoughts in the comments below, and we will talk soon.